time in forever. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Great. Well, let's do a few intros. Rosemary, why don't you start us off and tell us why you're back in Vancouver? It's either Japan, California, Vancouver.
Well, I live here now, so I'm Rosemary Brisco. My company is To the Web, and I am just like you. I'm just a fellow AI junkie. I work with sales and marketing teams to integrate AI into their strategies to improve their business performance. And I've started doing more in the sales side, and that's really interesting also because they are very eager. So
That's great. Well, Rosemary, I actually didn't realize maybe that's what this group is. My name's Paul Byer, and I'm a Gen AI junkie.
I think we have
Hi,
to start that
Paul.
way.
Hi, everyone. That's really funny. Great. Well, thank you. Good to see you again, Rosemary. DJ, you want to introduce yourself and say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is DJ Ursal, and I'm a friend of Amanda's. We both went to the Harvard Business School analytics program, graduated in January of 2022. And I think last year I met Paul at the AI Catalyst conference. So I've been following your meetup group and the trajectory and everything. And now I've made it myself a time to join this group. So look forward to interacting with you all. And Paul, thank you for hosting this.
Of course, DJ, welcome. Well, welcome, Amanda. Thanks for inviting DJ. David Rosilin, I keep messing your name up, David. Sorry.
Yes, it's David Resilient, like the word resilient.
Okay, great.
And I work with Accenture in generative AI, and I also work with a generative AI startup. This is a great group. Thank you for letting me join, and I'm here to learn.
And David, you're in Southern California? I'm trying to remember where you are.
Yes, I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I've been in San Diego for about 20 years. I'm a retired Marine, but I'll always claim Brooklyn.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. Igor M., you want to say hi?
Hey everyone, yeah, I'm Igor. I live in San Diego as well, just like David. I'm a Gen AI junkie. And I work on legal assistant. I don't know how many other people are working in the same space, probably a lot, but I think it's a promising area of technology. My focus is on contract review process, automated review of contracts.
Huh. Igor, are you with the law firm? Are you with a startup or?
I am tinkering with the technology and I'm starting off the ground. I'm kind of like a one-man shop, but I have a lot of experience in this space. And I'm actually open for other people to join me as a co-founder potentially, and then later we can raise funding. I've done it once already with a startup I created, Agile Stacks. I built a prototype, raised funding, built a company, sold the company.
Well, I'd love to trade notes with you on the legal stuff. We see so much, and personally, I've had to use the 4 or 5 contracts in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's just breathtaking. Uploading operating agreement. I mean, and literally today, even my own damn lawyer is not using it. And, I said, here's the clause. I want the clause to say this. I sent it to him. He's like, oh my God, where did you get this? It's just kind of like this link going from, oh, it's over there to actually in the real work is really stunning.
Yeah, well, there's an entire industry there, legal process outsourcing, LPO. Well, I think I can kind of compete with that industry, and do kind of like AI legal outsourcing,
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you. Do a few more intros and then we'll start. Alan, that's where you want to say hi, Alan? Alan's a longtime attendee and had some great presentations here.
Sure. I'm Alan. I work for a small consulting company called Objective Consulting. You can find us at spiders.com. A lot of what I'm doing these days is twofold. One is professionally, I'm helping our clients understand AI, how to use it, how to fit it into their existing workflows and where it can be useful. As a hobbyist, I am helping developers understand how to integrate AI as part of their apps. I have a podcast, a YouTube series called Two Voice Devs, where we discuss this. And Mike and I help run a weekly conversation group called Voice Lunch Frenzy Friday. And you can, I'll post my LinkedIn link. You can find me there.
That's great.
Always good to rejoin you when I get the chance, Paul.
Well, thank you. Welcome back, Alan. Liz Manzura, I see you're on? Liz, are you there?
I'm here, Paul.
Can you, so everyone, Liz is one of our co-founders. She's been CMO, Chief Marketing Officer at Cadillac and a lot of views. Liz, you want to share any observations from the commercials last night on the Super Bowl?
Oh, I thought it was pretty interesting. Actually, I didn't see any that really embraced AI technology unless somebody sees something that I didn't. I just saw lots of expensive celebrity talent and a lot of humor. So those were the two big, tons of celebrities. So it was sort of, that was the theme of the night. But none of them that I saw in the Super Bowl used Gen AI. Anybody see anything different than I did?
Well, Microsoft supposedly had one. I didn't.
Yeah, it was a co-pilot.
Copilot, yeah.
Yeah,
they
and it
marked
was good.
pilot. Yeah, it was excellent. I saw that one.
Yeah.
Would you
Well, great.
consider the one that Google had to be considered AI? I mean, they had the gentleman who had a site issue.
Oh, I thought that was very moving. That was the one that was using to clarify the show two faces and to take a picture and
What's that called again, Alan Furstenberg? That feature?
I don't know. I didn't see the commercial. I don't know which one are you talking about?
It was for the Google Pixel 8. And I think you can probably get it on most phones these days because they can identify faces. And so it was kind of a blind guy and he could take selfies because it would tell him when the faces were in focus. It was good.
yeah.
And the Microsoft commercial.
I missed that. I'd have to go back and look at that. My
It's
favorite.
good. Google Pixel 8. Just Google Pixel 8 and I'm sure you'll find it.
My favorite Boston ad, Duncan by a mile.
Absolutely. That was great. Yeah. Well, good. Well, welcome, Liz. Welcome, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Paul Byer, and this is the GAI Insights. I'm with it, and we do a couple different things here. We're going to a couple intros here. We've had a showcase, and the person had to cancel, so we're going to just really extend open mic, and I've got a few other slides to get some conversation going. But intros, just we're a startup analyst firm here in Boston. We really focus on helping companies actually use this, some practical stuff. So we like to talk about the bottom half of the bifocals, if you will, which is how to actually use this in the next 6 to 18 months for business. The top half of the bifocals are very important. AI can kill us all or take all the jobs. That's great stuff, and that's not our focus, but it's very practical. This group and our yearly conference are a really important part of what we believe is important right now, because learning's so critical. Things are changing so fast, and to learn from others, both on the technical business side, is really important. We do lots of workshops and research. We have 7 analysts. Here's our analysts, some over online here. Couple of kudos I want to send out. So Rosemary, I want to acknowledge you for helping out and getting a much better image for our very dated meetup site. So thank you for that. Luda is one of our analysts, has been really great on helping write the daily email. We have a daily show at 7:30 every day, rating the news, and she's been taking care of sending that out to our pilot group. Steve and Amanda, thanks for bringing new folks to it, and Michael, thanks for being such a supporter of the daily show. It's been a real learning, and for people who haven't seen it, internet's so amazing. So it's coming up. I'll tell you in a second here. We have a sponsor. So this week's Learning Lab is sponsored by Custom GPT. Alden's here, and his startup's doing quite well, and we appreciate the financial support to cover Zoom and some of the cost of putting this on here. He's got a fantastic no-code large language model. So if people aren't familiar with this code, it's unbelievably powerful, and I'm simply shocked that every company's not doing this. And we tell every company, even no matter how scared they are, they can do a zero-risk large language model today, take the public information off your public website for less than $500 a month, stick it in this tool or tools like this, and you can start learning. And you'll be shocked what you learn rather than just running around and keeping your head in the sand here. This is our WINS framework. If you haven't seen it, this is how to think about the urgency, both at the industry level, company level, increasingly at the job level. I mean, we've been working with some companies to help plot jobs there. You know, where's customer service, where's outside sales reps or inside sales reps, because companies are increasingly realizing they can't invest equally in all their employees for upskilling in Gen AI. So how do they pick which departments or which areas to upskill first? With buyer's guide, folks interested in that, let us know. This is a paid, this is a $2,000 report. It's very extensive, but it's very useful if you're get a large project and you're looking to save time and money. This I was mentioning earlier. So 7:30 Eastern, Monday through Friday, are 5 to 7 of analysts to get together, and we discuss and rate the top Gen AI news for the previous day around enterprise. And we try to rate each one. We rate each one essential, important, or optional for that time-starved AI leader and their team. And interestingly, it's the number one thing we hear from customers. They literally say, we can't keep up. You know, it's changing too much. Our executives are coming out of here. We have one Fortune 500 company came to us, and the CEO went to the person we're working with who runs AI, and he said, I'm sick and tired of all these consultants talking to every one of my board members, every one of my VPs, getting everyone all round up. Everybody's looking at all these emails. I have 35 new announcements today. You know, they asked the AI team, how do I just give me a list once a week of the 5 or 8 things that's most important for my team, my executive team to look at. And we're helping with that. And we've got 3 other companies like that. So this keeping up and keeping sanity, even for the Gen AI junkies, is a non-trivial thing. And if you're at a big company, for some of you guys are, you already have double booked half the day. You have 100 new emails each day. You got 6 or 8 new recs. You got $1 to $8 million new budget out there. Your career's on the line if you're in some of these industries here, and you've got to keep up and deal with all these people who are trying to be helpful here. So that's our attempt at that, and appreciate people who are helping us improve it. We're trying to connect more of the things here. So these are the major articles last week that our group, our analysts deemed essential, important. Essential was certainly the close to passage regulation in Europe. They continue to be ahead of the world in terms of setting tones, lots of debate, pros and cons, lots of debate. This is even can you regulate this or not? But it's certainly something to watch, and they're way ahead of everyone else. And certainly GDPR has cost millions and millions and millions of dollars for people who work over there. And it's something that all the executives need to have on the radar screen. Important ones, people have probably seen the $25 million that was wired because of real fake videos, non-trivial there. Amazon's Rufus, AI shopping being integrated in a way that's really transforming both the product search and product. Super Bowl, we talked about that, mainstreaming that. One of the things, we got 2 companies who are quite excited about the things like Super Bowl ad with Microsoft, because it's mainstreaming this for all their employees. So when you've got 7 or 30,000 employees, how do you get them? How do you move from Gen AI being a novelty item to actually part of the cultural mainstream to get these 10 to 30% productivity improvements here? And Google's trying again with Gemini, and certainly early indications are they're getting much closer. Maybe not surpassing GPT, but maybe closing the gap.
You mean Google, right, Paul?
I'm sorry?
Did you mean Google?
Oh, what did I say?
Microsoft.
Oh, sorry. Google, yeah. Google launched another one, Gemini Ultra. Thank you, Liz. This is the no code study. People haven't seen it. It's a free webinar recording on there. Doug Williams is a no bullshit technical person who knows his way around software and is at MIT in the entrepreneur center called the Martin Trust Center. They've rolled out 3 large language models. And the key thing that I learned from him, or he taught me, was they already have a website that deals with all the content. They have plenty of content. The problem is, how do we shorten time to value for a user? So when a user comes and wants to find something in this big, huge website, they search, and traditional search may or may not find it. So this is an augmentation for finding ways. And he uploaded, had a, one of his folks on his team upload a couple hundred documents, YouTube videos. And now you come there and you have an alternative way to find stuff. They find it faster. It doesn't hallucinate or doesn't have errors or has very small ones here. They get tons of reporting. It didn't take a single minute of a data scientist or software engineer. So this whole idea that augmenting finding information from a chat bot that's powered by a large language model is really powerful. And we know one company that's startup, and they're doing websites to start with a chat bot. And they're only doing a chat bot, and only after they figure out what can't be solved with a chat bot do they start adding web pages. So kind of completely switching around the information retrieval paradigm. We've been doing a lot of employee training here. Sales is an area that we're seeing a lot of pickup on. In response to a lot of people asking about it, we're kicked off. This is a paid course once a week, every Monday, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific. It's $4.95 for 90 minutes, and 100% guarantee if you think that was a waste of your time and money. And we have not had anyone ask for that back, but this is really can really improve folks. And the thing that we're finding here is you've got to get people in a room sharing examples that's from the company. How do I respond to an RFP? How do I take my value proposition and quickly get a proposition for each of the roles I'm selling to in enterprise sales? Here's a value proposition for the CTO. Here's the general counsel. Here's the VP of engineering. Here's the frontline worker, and be able to do it like that. How do I actually, I've never sold my widget into insurance. How do I learn the top insurance pain points in 3 or 4 minutes? Well, I could go to Google, type in top insurance, auto insurance thing to get a whole bunch of blue lines and wade through stuff. Or I can go to stuff, and it's things like this we're finding again and again, is that the people who aren't on Gen AI junkies like calls like this haven't really thought of and really just kind of think about this as a cheat tool and everything else. So that first mile of showing them is really, really powerful. And encourage everyone, even if they'll take our class, but get your sales folks, get your sales team looking into this, because it's really transformative. And it only takes 3 or 4 top reps to start doing it, and it starts moving that cultural norm over. What else have we got here? Oh, we've got a lots of security stuff for people who haven't been following it. Is non-trivial what's going on here. Walter's an expert, and he's got a free webinar coming up the 27th, and he's going to really walk through 7 things. It's shocking what he keeps teaching me about what large companies aren't even aware of or doing in the security area here. So, let's make sure we all have the seatbelts on and the doors locked and the 101 stuff. And this was before the $25 million real fake here. So we are in a whole new realm of prompt engineering and enterprise risk that we've got to make sure our executives and CISO folks know about. Couple key events coming up here. Did I skip one? People in the New England and the Boston area, April 18th, another big event at MIT. This is in the Media Lab. Stephen Wolfram, Lex Friedman are confirmed. There's a whole bunch more. We're working with John Warner over there to help with the staffing. We got another 5 or 6 major CEOs and executives. Sam Altman's working to get his schedule rearranged to call in. He called in last year. So just a great course. And for the folks, or conference. And for the people who aren't going to be in town, we're going to try to at least we will be tweeting out some of the highlights and sharing what we have. But this is a great course, and it's a conference, and it's free. The challenge they have is about 2,000 to 3,000 people apply, and they take 600. So you do need to get your application in. And MIT really wants to get the right mix of students and practitioners and investors and everything else. But it's well worth your time if you can. Our big conference is in October. I get just a few of the slides, and then we'll kind of open an open mic. And people correct me if I'm wrong here. So lots of, or at least 2 name changes. So Microsoft Bing Chat was what they've called it for the longest time, and now they're calling it Copilot. And if you look in the bottom, and now it says Copilot for open the Bing. And it really seen an uptick in large companies who historically use Microsoft products, who are now have employees really asking us about Copilot training or Bing training, and not just custom GPT. And the same thing with Google. They're renaming it Gemini. And even if you go to bar.com, I think the URL switches over. Other ones I'm not aware of, other Perplexity. I know there's a lot of fans here on Perplexity. I've become a real big fan of that as well, because I had like 4 or 5 hours of research last week. And if you need research, it's a great, great place to start. And I think they've got a real nice chance to really carve that out and pull it away from, at least pull a lot of the use cases away from Google, because it is such a better experience. Anybody else got other public chat bots they use or should be on this list? The other one that's been out there, I haven't even got a chance to use it, is Q from Amazon. My understanding is this is really focused more on the enterprise side, and you've got to set up an account, get in line. Is anyone familiar with this or used it, or?
My understanding was that Q was mostly aimed just at providing Amazon AWS support for itself.
Oh,
I could be wrong on that, but my understanding was that it's similar to, to essentially a Copilot for Azure, or what used to be known as Duet AI for Google Cloud. It's mostly just providing information about AWS itself.
Yeah, so that's why I was confused. But like even here, they say boost employee productivity with Q. So anyway, they came out with a lot of fanfare, and I've not heard it much in all in the marketplace, even for folks I know that are developing on AWS, Anthropic.
I think Q is also incorporated in their QuickSight. So QuickSight is kind of their AWS's Tableau equivalent, and this allows you to. I mean, they've woven it in there so that there are some generative aspects to that. So that's where I've heard about Amazon Q prior to this. But yes, I also feel like it is a chatbot as well, but maybe not in the general sense that, we know ChatGPT.
Since we don't have a showcase tonight, we're going to open mic in about 5 minutes. So people that want to share things, and Alan, I know I've got you teed up for one, but others have exciting things to share. So think about that. And I've got a few other slides just to make sure we're keep sharing information. We continue to see that the big war is about the big 3 cloud providers. Large language models are a little dinky little feature on this huge war, and the market power and presence of this dominates, in our view, any other things that these little startups are doing on the side here. Even the startups have raised a couple $2 billion here. So it's at that context, we see again and again and again and again working with large companies. Again, this is mainly on the medium and large company size. A few other things, people probably have seen this. I know we've talked about this before, but the top 6 AI companies have a $10 trillion market cap. If you look at the 3rd and 4th largest economies in the world, Japan and Germany, their economies are 8.6 trillion. And I don't think anyone's going to make a case that Japan and Germany are going to grow 30 to 50% over the next 5 to 10 years. So we are moving in a world where it's even more dominant, and it's got huge implications for policy, for how things get rolled out, for how things get guardrail perceptions or guardrail rules, and it's something to be aware of. It's really a non-trivial thing that I hear a lot of people not talking about it, but then you actually see it. Another way you see it is the billions of dollars. So EBITDA is a business way to measure cash flow. So these 6 companies generate $428 billion of cash every single year. Microsoft generates $2 billion of cash every single week. They can't even help it. It's just happening. It's just, there goes another 2 billion. There's another 2 billion. So this idea that OpenAI is going to go bankrupt or Microsoft can't afford to put another, $100 billion is a ludicrous. And I think particularly when you look at what's at stake, 5 years, 10 years from now, is Microsoft going to be leader of AI? Is OpenAI going to spend $7 trillion? So this is a huge, game of market share up for grabs that's got lots and lots of implications downstream, in our view.
You say it's
and
up for,
I'm sorry.
no, we'll talk about it later. You're saying it's up for grabs, but it seems like it's already grabbed. So that was kind of my take.
Well, no, I think it's up for grabs in the sense that who are going to be the top 5 leaders 5 to 10 years from now, it could change. Could Saudi Arabia and the Saudis put $7 or $5 billion into Falcon chips that are made in UAE and at least car part of that balance of power? I don't know, but my point is it's really and it's verticalizing quite a bit. You notice that OpenAI is getting into chips, Microsoft's getting into chips, NVIDIA is getting into, it's even more into software. So there's kind of used to be the hardware guys didn't play with the software guy. It's all getting verticalized, and with a lot of money. Just a few more slides and open up open mic. This is the one thing I really value out of our weekly groups is we kind of get a sense for the different tools. And we visited this back in December, and it's already changed a little bit here. So, I think general use, I still hear custom GPT-4. I'd love to figure out people really disagree with that. Creativity, GPT-4. Summarizing, GPT-4 and Claude. Claude, particularly for larger context windows. Research, Perplexity, and Bing. Analysis, I continue to see ChatGPT-4. I'm interested in what the Google Ultra is going to be like. I have not had my hands on it. I know Ethan Mollick and others have. That's the closest one there. Text to image, I think we should add DALL-E 3. I'm certainly hearing a more goodness about, or good thing about that. And meeting translation, no clear winners. Do others have things that disagree or ones we're missing or? This is the quietest group. This is a group.
Yeah, it's Tim.
Thank you.
Tim Andrews. My son actually, who runs a small business of his own, has been using Fathom, I think it's called, which he says is terrific at meeting transcriptions, summaries, and action items.
Huh. That's great.
I've been using Fathom as well. They're very quiet about it because it's a lot of proprietary fighting in between Fathom and Otter and a couple other companies that do that. But it's a fascinating thing to when someone says, "Do you mind if I bring in my bot?" And sure, but then it only works when afterwards you say, "Here's the summary," and they go, "Oh my God, thank you for doing my notes for me."
Yeah. So, David, thanks. Well, I have a real pet peeve of people assuming before I do a call that Otter is okay. And I'm to the point now, if you don't ask permission, I tell everyone that it's just obnoxious. I find it. And the fact that just because you can and you're trying to sell me something, it's obnoxious. I don't know why salespeople suddenly decide to become obnoxious digitally, because they would never do that, voice to voice. But go ahead, Alan, and Lucinda.
I just wanted to say that I'm curious to hear what other people's experiences will be with the Gemini chatbot and with the Gemini Advanced chatbot as they're using it. I know that for the things that I was using it for, some head-to-head comparisons when I was a beta tester for what's now Gemini Advanced. I was getting much more creative answers from Gemini than I ever did from GPT-4s and ChatGPT. Worlds different. So I'll be interested to hear what other people's experiences will be.
Alan, share more. What is the context? Is it fiction, nonfiction? Is it
in this particular case, it was leaning more towards fictional stuff. the best example I have of it is for a Christmas episode of our podcast. We wanted to create a AI themed version of The Night Before Christmas. And while GPT-4 gave a very good rendition of it, it really only changed a couple of lines. What was then Bard and what we would now call Gemini gave a much more creative response, but kind of off what we were looking for. And this beta version of what's now Gemini Advanced nailed it. I mean, almost exactly what we were looking for. We had to change a couple of lines, but only a couple of lines. It was by far, we gave it all three of them, we gave the exact same prompt about here's the poem we want you to create a parody of. Here's a couple of keywords that we want included in there. Here's the general theme. And, of the three, Gemini Advanced really nailed it, which honestly surprised me.
Oh, that's great. Do you think it's, in that sense, you think it's going to outperform 4 in multiple areas, or this is the only one you've seen so far they've been more impressed?
I think it depends on what you mean by perform. And because I don't go in for benchmarks. I've seen the claims and counterclaims about the benchmarks between the two. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what your prompting style is. If you've gotten very used to GPT's prompting style, you'd need to adapt it a little bit for Gemini. I never got used to GPT's prompting style. So I find it's picking up on my cues generally better, but not always better. Certainly when I've asked it factual information, I haven't seen dramatically better results. The claim that it does more advanced reasoning when I try to do reasoning tests, I'm not seeing that at all. So I think it depends, it depends on how you do things and what you do. But that's why I'm kind of curious to see what other people's experiences with it will be.
Can you summarize the difference between Gemini and ChatGPT? With ChatGPT, I think you just need to be kind of a jerk with it and persistent and not worry about its feelings. That's my take on how you get stuff out of it. You can be polite and all if you want, but mostly it's just like, no, you're wrong, this. And, I get what I want that way. How does Gemini, is it a style? Is it a function? Is it markup?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I know that when I've done things like tell ChatGPT that it's wrong, it will both back off and then simultaneously double down. And I've not gotten the answers it wants, but that may just be how I'm confronting it.
Yeah, I think that's funny. It's really like the personalities that we're now mirroring with these robots. It's like, it's more about us than them anyway.
So, I don't know. It's hard for me to make other, direct comparisons like that. I also don't tend to challenge them much. When they give me an answer that I know is bad, I'll just dismiss it and say, well, you're done. I'm not going to bother with you anymore. And I do that very quickly because I don't trust them I don't trust them much at all.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Alan. We will come back to you for your experience on the API front. Go ahead, Lucinda.
Yeah, just wanted to actually make one comment on what you guys are just talking about. I had a situation one time where I was researching an old software that a potential client was using, and I asked them, "Is it connected with an API?" And I had done some research on it, and they told me that it wasn't connected with an API. ChatGPT said, "Yep, it's connected with an API," and I said, "Well, are you sure? Can you go back and look at that?" And was like, "Oh yeah, that's my mistake. Sorry." But so it's like dealing with, the more I deal with this stuff, the more it feels like I'm working with a person, and, if you ask somebody and gives them a general question, they're going to give you a general answer as a person. And the same thing with ChatGPT. Anyway, so that's a comment on that. But there was also that slide that you had up before, Paul, that had all the different large language models. Like in that chart there, yeah, that one.
Okay.
This one here, right? And so, these are essentially like looking at using the raw form of the LLM, but I also put in the chat, if you guys want to scroll up the chat a little bit, 2 links. And this is, I think, another important part of this is where the LLM is actually embedded in a workflow. And so, like, for example, if you look at Jasper AI, that one video where there's some marketer has a huge amount of, yeah, if you want to play it, you can't, well, no, it takes a few minutes. It's 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes. Anyway, there's an overworked marketing worker, and it just shows how it like moves through, and the LLM is seamlessly embedded in the workflow of this marketer. And I do feel like that may be a category that can be looked at, by this group at some point. Maybe it's part of your vendor as well. I mean, I think that, it's not just using the LLM, just me and, the computer in front of me. It's also like, well, how do you like embed it seamlessly in the workflow so that I don't have to go back and forth between my Word document or my email software and the LLM. So if you want to watch the 2-minute video, it's really compelling.
And Lucinda, and so keep sharing that. So what are you seeing out there? You think there'll be some use cases where employees will go to these public large language models, other times where they don't even recognize it because they're just using a tool and it's solving the problem, and it's just part of my tool. I'm creating content. I don't know.
Right. It's like it just does it, right? I mean, it just works.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend doing this 2-minute video if people are willing to, if people are interested.
That's great. I play. I just always always get confused on how to get the sound right through the Zoom, and it's never works. So.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I highly recommend watching the Jasper AI one.
Homework
This
for
is what
everyone.
I'm talking about.
All you Gen AI junkies who show up every week and not get a video homework. Go ahead, RJ.
Okay, so to answer your question about getting the sound to work, when you click on the share button, you'll see a little checkbox that says share sound. So you got to make sure you do that right away after you click on the share button. There's a little tiny box that shows up there sort of in the middle for share sound. But anyway, I wanted to comment on some things people said earlier, just to maybe enlighten them on perhaps some mindsets that they may not be finding helpful for them. So basically, if a person's having a problem with a large language model, I highly recommend people don't wholesale give up on it. That's like the biggest mistake you can make. And the reason for that is yours probably simply don't understand what's going on and you're causing the problem. For instance, if you start to ask large language models about their own capabilities or real world reality models, they're not going to know about that. So they will tend to hallucinate on what their capabilities are, whether they can connect to the internet or whether they can't, and things of that nature. So don't expect them to. They're not trained on that. In the future, they may get better trained on that, but right now they don't really have a good understanding of things like that. So in general, my nutshell comment is, if you're having problems with a large language model, don't give up on it. You're probably part of the problem. You don't understand how they work properly in that situation. You're asking it the wrong questions. You're not clearing the chat and starting a new chat, and you're confusing it. There's just so many things you could be doing wrong. And I just wanted to say, please don't give up on your large language model. Figure out what you're doing wrong or you don't understand.
RJ, thank you. You are you almost feel like a parent of the large language models. Don't give up on my kids. So anyway, RJ, thanks for keeping on the sound here. Let's Lucinda, can you see my screen? We'll try
Yep, that's it. Yep. Let her rip.
How's that blog post coming?
Great. Really great. Almost too great.
Great. Can't wait to see it.
Can't wait to write it.
You need a little inspiration. Jasper is here to help. It's an app that uses AI to help you create any kind of content you need. It's like having your very own robot sidekick with an infinite supply of ideas. And that's why the perfect pair of socks is like a hug for your feet.
Hot damn, that's good.
Headlines, articles, images, anything, everything.
Jasper, I need some caption ideas for our Instagram. Like a lot of them.
You got it.
These are so good. I could kiss you, but I won't.
Dear customer, it looks like your account problem is user error. It's a little confrontational. What if we lightened it up a little bit?
Jasper can fine-tune the voice and tone of your writing. Sorry to hear about the problems with your account. I'll make sure everything goes smoothly. Smiley face.
Nice.
Jasper, could I get that in Italian?
Naturalmente.
Sweet. Blog post is done in record time. Now I just need some images for it.
Jasper can even generate custom art based on your prompts. Get images of literally anything you can think of in seconds.
You finished all those articles already?
Just felt inspired?
Jasper learns how humans create by consuming the internet. It gives Jasper endless options, and that means it can create original content without plagiarizing anything. Now you'll always have the content you need, in whatever style you want.
This post is incredible and so you. Would you like a ridiculously huge promotion?
I would be okay with that.
Who's your little friend?
I'm Jasper.
Nobody.
So now childcare costs more than college.
Whoops.
You heard that right. A new report.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go and I looked at Jasper in a lot of detail, not a lot, in a fair amount of detail to see, like, what are they doing and how are they employing and, integrating LLMs. And I think one of the key aspects there that maybe doesn't come quite across in the video is that if you are doing a lot of emails, or if it's in that workflow of putting together the emails or putting together the blog post, etc. So that was the reason why I think that it's an interesting, early player to watch.
Lucinda, thanks for sharing. They've looked like they're very much of a standalone app. Do you think 3 years from now, as Microsoft and Google get caught up with the capabilities, people will still use things like Jasper, or will Jasper also have moved forward 10 yards on the field?
Yeah, I think Jasper will have moved forward. I mean, I think it's just like watching any other ecosystem grow up, right? At first, you've got like a million blades of grass where every little, best in class use cases is coming up, and then gradually they're either acquired or squeezed out or whatever, or copied and integrated into some other competitors. And so then you get the larger and larger agglomeration of things. Is I guess how it would play out. I mean, for people who have been through this stuff before. You have any other comments on that for how new ecosystems evolve and consolidate?
Well, one comment, Lucinda, on that, Jasper is the #1 app that got adopted by ad agencies very early on in this journey. So it is, because it's easy to use and it's very specific. So a lot of agencies are using that. Maybe they don't have a big contract with Microsoft or they don't have a big contract with Google, but they can afford Jasper and use that app, and they've been using it. So just little information.
And I think we all have to remain agile with all this stuff in the sense that you don't know the twists and turns that are going to happen. And you start with something that looks like best in class right now, and then, you may need to pivot later on. So
I think it's interesting that the last twist, the little joke there where she hides Jasper and she's not going to admit that she's using it, that brings up a real issue. I mean, if she's turning to the company saying, hey, let's all do this, and she gets promoted because of that, or does she keep it to herself and kind of compete on these smaller ways? I think that's as telling as anything.
So let's go to open mic. Who's got things to share or questions? Or Alan, you want to share a little bit about some of the API testing you're doing? We talked about that earlier.
Sure. So along with all of their other renaming of stuff, one of the things that Google has been making available was their Google API. And that's kind of comparable to the GPT-3, 3.5, and GPT-4 APIs that OpenAI has been providing. So what I've been doing a lot of is helping, kind of twofold. One is helping developers understand where this differs and how it differs and what additional features it has. And two, helping get it integrated into some of the common toolkits that are out there, like LangChain and LangChain.js. And kind of, I know this is not a group of developers, but one of the things that I kind of wanted to highlight about the API that Google is providing, and I guess taking a step back, an API is a standard way for developers to have access to pretty much anything in general. You know, how developers can access resources over the internet, and in this case, access these models specifically. One of the things that Google does is they have what they call safety settings and a safety feedback response. So for every prompt that you give, it will tell you how it rates that prompt in along a number of different safety axes. You know, for example, is this prompt sexually harassing? Is this prompt likely to be dangerous? And similarly, the possible responses that it gives, it will give a response and then rate that response in terms of these same safety settings. And if the response that it is generating, or if the prompt that you've given it goes over a certain threshold and you have some control of what that threshold is, it will stop giving a response. It'll just stop and say, I can't tell you anything more for safety reasons. And you can turn that off to some degree, but there's always a certain level that some things will always stay on. That is something that I'm not aware that anybody else is actually doing on the API side. Is kind of not just, you know, it's giving you that, you know, context of just how dangerous or how risky or what other safety values could be attached to this. I know that OpenAI has a different API where you can send it a prompt and it will give you a percentage rating among things, but not as part of the main API, not as part of every single prompt that goes through it. So that's probably one of the biggest features that I think Google's API is giving over many of the other ones. And as always, I'd love to hear, you know, people's feedback or questions or their take on what Google is doing.
Thoughts, or Alden or others? Go ahead, Alden.
Yeah, so this is expected to happen more and more, and there's a name coming up for this called prompt fireball. So before the prompt is sent to the LLM, there's going to be like technology that firewalls the prompt. We've implemented a lot of this into our own system. The first obvious one was anti-hallucination. We spent a lot of effort building that. And then after that came the other prompt firewalls, like, you know, not safe for work. Prompt injection is another good one. Like we now have a firewall for that when needed. So what Alan was saying is true. You're going to have all these layers of safety settings, which people can turn on and off as needed.
And Alden, have you seen, we have a few companies ask us about kind of the prompt firewall or prompt rules that are role specific? So just like you've got access thing by large companies here, we've got one company saying, I want to do it by roles. Confidential information, what you can say. CSRs have more constrained use on language. Executives may be larger or vice versa.
Not yet, because people are still struggling for the top level firewalls right now. Anti-hallucination was the first one. Prompt injection is the second one. Not safe for work and, you know, potentially dangerous stuff is the third one. So I'm expecting people to request these type of features more and more before the prompt is sent to the LLM.
That's great. Thanks, Alden. Go ahead, Alex H. Then we'll go to Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Alan about, you know, Google and its LLM offerings. I think that it's been stifled a lot by all of the renamings of, you know, Bard turning into Gemini, Gemini Ultra, all of that. I think that's been a real kind of debacle. And it's going to make things harder as far as like a brand perspective. And then also, I think that you're going to start to see a lot of the bigger companies switch even from LLMs and start maybe going into large action models, especially with like multimodality, like really becoming a big portion of, you know, probably like consumer tech in the next generation. So it's going to be interesting to see that and how that plays out.
Can I respond to that second point quickly?
Sure.
I think you're definitely right. I think this is actually a place where Google has kind of a head start over everyone else, which they're absolutely positively going to fumble big time. Their Dialogflow product is certainly at the forefront of large action model type things, because they understand this notion of providing information versus providing action. Dialogflow is well positioned to kind of tune it so that you can specify certain actions right up front and yet fall back to the generative model for other things. And yet Google's going to fumble it because they're not able to get that messaging out. I'm a big fan of Dialogflow. I've been a big fan of Dialogflow for years and years and years, but I can easily see them messing this up. As Mike's laughing because he knows exactly what I think about Dialogflow.
Great. Well, thanks, Alex. Michael, no problem.
I actually did some Dialogflow back about 4 or 5 years ago. I feel like Dialogflow and the stuff we were doing with Amazon Alexa and Google Voice was kind of like the baby before the LLMs. You know, it was basically you feed it what you want it to send back to you. We've done that essentially on a very, very large scale now. You feed it what you want. But yeah, that's all I had to say. When you said Dialogflow, I was like, oh gosh, like we're going backwards. But no, that's not what you meant.
Well, we're both going backwards and forwards. I mean, I think what we're seeing is that these large action models that are being talked about now are relying on some of the intent-based technology that we were used to back in the Alexa and the Google Assistant age. Just now they're also kind of beefing it up with the addition of these large language models as well. I think what we're going to see more and more going forward are using these two strategies in tandem with each other.
That's great. Thank you. Michael, anything else? Or that was...
Yeah, no, I was going to chime in on a different topic. You had asked about, you know, trying to use LLMs based on roles. Like, I am the chief financial officer, show me finance data I'm allowed to view. The only way I see that happening is if you're able to flag the data or tag it with certain tags that would allow the LLM to say, oh, it's on my white list, I can let you have this. Oh, that's on my black list, I'm not going to let you have that because that's what I've been told. Because, you know, permissions and roles have no generative concept.
I think LLMs right now, they don't have knowledge and they don't have memory. So
or even that relationship, though, you know, again, if you give it financial data, it's like, yes, thank you, I've got this. But then if you say, only show me the data meant for the CEO, I don't know what that means.
No, but keep going though. If you look at most enterprise apps, they do know role. They do have role-based access. That's a critical part of 99% of the apps.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm saying LLMs though.
That's why this topic about RAG was a nice topic for today. Hopefully we will follow up, because I think that, you know, embeddings, vector databases, RAG, those are all important elements of how do I bring this memory and knowledge and, you know, like roles and security into LLMs, because LLMs, they are just making things look pretty. You know, but they need very specific knowledge, they need very specific instructions, they need context, And that's the key, is how do we generate this knowledge and instructions and context for them, And after we receive output from LLM, how do we evaluate that? How do we put guardrails on it? How do we cache it? So there are a lot of things that go before LLM and after LLM. And so that's, we are not, I don't think we should be expecting too much of LLMs. They're not that smart. They're just really good in expressing themselves,
Thank you,
They-
Igor.
yeah.
DJ, we'll go to you, and then I'll do one more. Go ahead, DJ.
No, I was just thinking in terms of what Mike said, and it was just a thought, like I almost thought like in terms of federated search, so you would have basically two, as he was saying, the one that is for the general and then one that is for the exclusive people, but you would have two sets of LLM and the prompt would go against the two, and then the results would come in as federated in terms of depending upon who's asking for what.
Great. Thank you. We're going to end 2 minutes early. We have not ended early in months, and I always like to have all my meetings end early, which they rarely do these days. So thank you, everyone, for another really good. Let's keep the learning going. I apologize, our speaker had to change. Reg is a killer app in my view. I think we're going to see millions and millions of Reg implementations over the next 5 or 6 years. And everyone have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.